Welcome to this episode of It's Not You, but Sometimes It Is. I got to have the awesome pleasure of talking with Joyce Durst, who is a CEO here in Austin, background in engineering, and she has been a super hard driving, successful, awesome leader in tech, bought and sold lots of companies, really, really interesting career path. And we explored what it looks like to truly be a values-driven leader, and how she developed an incredible amount of social skill and influence in that way, and some mistakes and hard-won lessons she learned along the way. I know you're going to love learning with and from Joyce, so welcome to the episode. Welcome, friends, to It's Not You, but Sometimes It Is, where I get to talk to badass people in the C-suite about the journeys that they've had. And I am so excited to be able to talk today with Joyce Durst. So, Joyce, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you, Meg. I'm very excited about the conversation we're about to have.
We've already geeked out on a lot, so
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where we go. I have no idea where we're gonna go, but a little bit about your background, Joyce. You are here in Austin, Texas with me.
I
You are
am.
the CEO and co-founder of Growth Acceleration Partners here.
Yes.
But you are also a member of a WPO group here. You are on the board of the Greater Austin Chamber of Commerce, doing some accelerator programs for entrepreneurs. Is
Yeah, really trying to help Austin become known as the place to start a business. So the chamber is very involved in making sure there's a full ecosystem so entrepreneurship can thrive here.
Awesome. And you've been very networked and involved in supporting entrepreneurs throughout your career. You've
Yes.
been in lots of senior leadership roles in tech, for a very long time, background in engineering. So you've had a very interesting and rich career, and are hitting that, you're kind of at that pinnacle point in a
Mm-hmm.
career at a very interesting time. So can you tell us a little bit more about your company, what it does, and where you're at?
Yes, yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, so my company, Growth Acceleration Partners, we actually January 1st celebrated our 19th anniversary. So we've been around a long time. And our focus is we are a technology consulting and services company. And as you might imagine, over 19 years, that has changed a lot. But we are experts at helping clients build intellectual property, big SaaS applications that now are really becoming AI applications, big data engineering, kind of data analytics platforms. So, whatever's the application that helps customers generate revenue, connect them to their customers, we're typically in there helping them architect that, design it, build it, carry it out forever and ever. So it's fun, it's exciting, it's different every day, and so it's easy to love.
Going through massive changes right now. I know you
Yes.
probably had to ride the wave of a lot of change and even try and stay ahead of it to keep your
Hmm.
business healthy and thriving. And this one is a big one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say that
So,
just the other thing, just to back up, that makes us a little bit different from a lot of tech companies. We're a values-led company. So we'll always put our three values ahead of any particular metrics. So we care most about striving for greatness, being agile, and investing in people. That's more important than anything else, but that has allowed us to grow a bootstrapped, large, more than $50 million company. And, we get to have the culture we want that way.
yeah. And, talking with you, it's very clear that values and culture are very central, very important to you. And I know that that
Hmm.
didn't come out of nowhere. So usually our values and what's important to us come out of difficult experiences that we faced when we figure out what really is important. So
Yeah.
can you tell me about something that was unexpectedly difficult that you went through as a leader at any point in your career, kind of on the people side of things? And
Yeah.
how did you overcome it? What did you learn from it?
Probably many of those in a, kind of long career now, but I grew up at a rather, like many people, unfortunately, rather difficult kind of childhood. I put myself through school. I was determined that I didn't actually, the career choices in my family growing up, like there was discussion like, well, if you graduate from high school, then you could work at the Dairy Queen or the HEB, or maybe if we're really lucky, you could learn a trade. I'm like, oh, I don't like any of those. I'm going to go to school. So I put myself through engineering school, which was great, and then went to work straight out of school for IBM, which was a great place to start my career. But and I spent the next 17 years in going up the corporate ladder in big companies, which was awesome. But as I got closer and closer to the top, I started to see that the not all of them, but those companies tended to make decisions much more focused on what spreadsheet numbers were and political infighting from top people at the top and what the stock price was. And so I got to a point where I'm like, wow, this just doesn't align with what I care about and what my values are. And there was a time in my last year in big company land where they literally said, we're going to do a big layoff. And they did not ask me what any of these people did at all. They just literally sent me a spreadsheet with names and salaries on it and and didn't actually even want to meet with the people one on one. They're like, just call them all into a room and tell them, they don't work here anymore. And I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. So I didn't do it that way. I still had to follow through on laying off those people. But I knew at that moment that's not how I wanted to run a company. And so left to go become a CEO of a startup at that point.
Okay, interesting. That, in all the discussions I've had, there's often one of those pivotal moments for people
Hmm.
when their path just diverges sharply.
It
When they
becomes
have to,
clear. You're
yeah,
like, hey,
yeah.
is this what I want to be known for? No, it is not. So I don't want to be known for that. Let's go
And
somewhere else.
that the way that you make decisions that trickles down and influences the culture and permeates it completely, right?
Yes.
And so they say, one of my favorite quotes, culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yeah.
And I was always a little shocked at some of the little cultural things that would bubble up around me. And if you're not proactively shaping it, someone's shaping it for you, right? Your culture is constantly evolving and being shaped. So,
Yeah.
do you have examples of that where you realized that something was going on in a culture around you that was not really working for the strategy or the results or the health of a team? What was your experience of that?
A hard lesson for me to learn, Meg. So again, I'm a self-admitted engineer at heart, although none of my engineers would believe it anymore these days because they are very technical and I am not. But long ago, one of the things was very hard as I became a CEO. When you're an engineer, you're like, hey, things are kind of black and white. You tell someone something and then they know it. And then you're done with that. No, exactly. As an early leader, often, being a first-time CEO for starting that part of my journey, I'm like, you would hear people say crazy things that were going on. And, like, you're going to get rid of this product line or you're going to lay these people off. And I'm like, none of that is true. Why are people off making up things? And it was because I, as a leader, didn't at that point have the skill to say you have to communicate over and over and over
Hmm.
and make sure they understand the why and that they're bought in. And even if you told them 5 times, then tell them 5 more times. That once I got a hold of that, then the culture started to actually be the culture we thought we had and not people kind of making up their own because the leaders hadn't been clear enough, often enough about the why we were doing stuff.
Yeah, I think that's probably happened to most people that are listening to this, where we thought we had something going and we just didn't tend to it enough. And people forget 90% of what they hear within a month, right? So you've got to repeat communication, reinforce, state the why behind things, or it's just out the door.
It's out the door. In fact, well, we just read a study about a week ago, which was alarming because we do AI training because AI is changing about every 5 minutes, all the time. It's continuous learning. There's always something new. There's always an advancement. And so we're always on top of that. And we learn that if you don't reinforce it and use it every day, they literally lose 90% in the first few days. So it's like, oh my goodness. So, how you, again, that's the same with your culture and your message and your values, like
Hmm.
that has to be reinforced through everything. And so,
Yes.
you know,
Right.
20 years in, we're better.
Right. Yeah. We're not just taking in knowledge like sponges. If you want to really change behavior and learn a skill and change the way you're interacting with something, you've got to it's repetition.
Yeah, over and over. In fact, I have some of my directors and VPs and stuff will ask me, how many times do I have to tell them? I'm like, until they have it.
As many as it takes.
Right, exactly. Just keep going. And until you're hearing it echoed back from them on, hey, we need to move faster because of this. This is the why we're doing this. Until they do that, just keep telling them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I feel the frustration. I have empathy for that. And I
Mhm.
also been on the other side of it where I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that. It's not sticking. That's
Yeah,
just unfortunately the human brain, right?
yeah, I know. So you
Um,
just have to accept that.
we learn slow. We're also pretty dysfunctional. So let's talk about that a bit, right? 'Cause where
Yes,
you have
true.
a group of humans, you will have dysfunction.
Hmm.
Where you have bosses, you will have bad bosses. So, what has been an interesting experience you've had with a boss where you went, whoa, I do not want to lead like that? You already gave us one, but maybe other examples of what is kind of bad leadership to you. What does a bad boss look like? And do you think bad bosses are fixable?
Backwards first. I do think that some bad bosses are fixable, and
Okay.
I think the defining line there as to what's fixable and what's not fixable is whether or not it's a values problem, right? If that's an internal thing that they don't care about,
Mm-hmm.
or it's just they're unaware of how they're coming across, and you're like, hey, stop doing this. They're fixable, and I've certainly seen that, right? In my career, there are some people that are really coachable. Um, there was a to be careful here. Uh, there was I've been fortunate in big companies and in my smaller companies to be involved in acquisitions.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen acquisitions mostly done very poorly. Only a few times done well. And I think the two that we did, we kept everyone's very excited about our culture, that maybe those are examples. But on the other side, where I'm like, oh, please let me never be like this, was I saw after a company was acquired, the exiting CEO, and this company had been around, I should say, Meg, for more than 2 decades. Like they had been around a long time. It wasn't like a year and it sold. That CEO stood in front of the room of the people that had no idea that this company had been sold, that had been there, many of them their entire career, and told them, this is how they explain it. Hey, the board and I met and we decided to sell the company. And those of you that basically are holding this color card are going with this company, and those of you holding this color card are going with this other company. And I know you never heard of them, but they're nice people and they're in that room. And there you go. Go ahead and go there. There wasn't like what you would expect if you were that person, like, oh, we're so thankful to have worked together for all these years. And I just want to admire each and every one of you and thank you for the millions of contributions. And there's a great future ahead of you. We've been super careful about what the next stages are going to happen. And here's how it's going to work. No, there was none of that. It was like
Yeah.
met with the board, decided this was the right time. We're done. There you go. I was like,
That's
oh, it
leaving, yeah,
it
that's
hurt my
leaving,
heart.
oh yeah, yeah. And that's leaving a huge vacuum
Yeah.
that people will fill in with worst case scenarios.
Well, of course. Yeah. I mean, so yeah. Again, when
Oh,
I've seen things by bad bosses, it almost always stems from a place of they're more driven by self-interest than they are
Mm. Yeah.
from the responsibility that they have for the people that they, are in charge of, and making sure that their needs are being met and they're caring about, what happens to them in the future. And
Hmm.
that's some people, you've also seen bosses, we've all have, where, they let too much of their emotion show in meetings. And again, some of those you can just coach, like, hey, don't do
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah, you need to keep that outside of here, and you need to be nice and calm in here. Yeah, a lot of those you kind of work. So it just depends, I think, on where it's coming from, on how deeply ingrained it is in their value system.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and speaking of self-regulation and self-control, research is showing over and over that emotional intelligence, social skill are the biggest predictors of our
Hmm.
success as a leader. And yet, a lot of us aren't paying enough attention to it, fostering the development of it. You, however, have fostered a lot of skill in social emotional domains, especially for an engineer.
I know people always tease me about that. They're like, I know.
So, how have you personally seen low EQ affect a team or business results, and how have you worked on improving your own?
Um, these don't always go together, but they go together many times for engineers. Many of us, again, not all, are introverts. And it's not that we don't care about people, we care deeply about people,
Mhm.
but we're uncomfortable sometimes in settings, surely sharing and being vulnerable. And so over the years, I have forced myself to practice being really vulnerable. Well, as I just told you, I had a really difficult childhood. And before the call, we talked about what that kind of looked like. I share many of those things with my team and with
Yeah.
people so they know, hey, this is who I am. Like, this is it. I make myself um, participate in all the parties that we have and all the large group settings. And it doesn't mean I won't go home and be exhausted. I will be. But as much as I can be out there and accessible and approachable, that's what my team needs. And that I'm happy to do for them. And then I'll figure out a different way to recharge
Mhm.
kind of once I get home.
Yeah.
Um, and we try to get all of the leaders to model the person their team needs to be,
Mhm.
and then figure out how to recharge if that's uncomfortable for them in some way.
I've worked with a lot of engineers, and I think people confuse introversion with social skill. They're
Yeah,
absolutely not correlated at all.
right.
Introversion is a set personality trait. It's probably not going to change much.
Hmm.
And I've seen that the most highly skilled, socially skilled introverts. And I've seen extroverts with the poorest social skill,
Hmm.
right? And so it's much more around you recharging in your battery and where your energy comes from. And I think people also confuse charisma with social skill.
Right.
And charisma is often a cover up for a lack of social skill. Social skill is really being able to sustain high trust relationships long term and being able to understand people's needs, have empathy, and use that information to positively influence, find win-wins, motivate people, right?
Right.
That's social skill. There's a lot there. So,
And it's so important. One of the things we look for when we hire people, we can always test people on technical skills. And that's not the thing that'll get you, forced out of the company. It's almost never that. It's always this other component about
mhm,
values and social skills.
yeah.
One of the things that we ask a lot of questions about are, tell me the long-term relationships that you built.
Hmm.
You
Yep.
know, let's talk about, because if you're going to be successful here, this is a relationship place with
Hmm.
your teammates, with your customers, with people in the community. We need to be doing work to make the community better. So, that I think you hit it just exactly right on, how are you at building high trust?
Hmm.
Because at least in my work world, nothing works without building that level of trust. The teams fall apart. And so you got to have people on the team that want to do that. If we find an engineer that's super awesome, but doesn't really like to deal with people, doesn't really want to work with other people on the team, it's not going to work. It's not going to be a
Yeah.
fit.
Yeah. Well, and especially in your company with the nature of the work, you have to collaborate a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we've talked a lot about culture, relationships out here. Let's look inward a little bit.
Okay.
And, the saying, sometimes you're your own worst enemy. And you hit these moments in your life, key moments where you realize that you're really battling some old belief, a gap in skills, an old mindset, a trait, an intensity in you. What was one of those moments for you? And what did you learn and carry forward from that?
The biggest thing for me, and I've seen other CEOs struggle with this same thing, was I think for years I held the company back. I was the limiting factor because I only had a picture in my brain that the company could be this big. And, I for 3 years in a row, so many years back, I was like, oh my goodness, if I could just get the company to $20 million, I would be so happy because it was 17 and it was 18 and it was 19 and it was 18. And I'm like, oh, please, for heaven's sakes, let's just get it to 20 million. And I got some great advice from some other CEOs, peers of mine in WPO, Women's Presidents Organization. And they basically said, you may never mention 20 million to us ever again,
That's
ever.
awesome.
It was awesome. And they said, when we next see you 3 months from now, we only want to hear you talk about what the plan is for 50 million.
Good.
It was fantastic because I was the one. And once I started doing that and I started like, oh, let's plan for that size company. Do I have the right people? Do I have the right
Hmm.
processes? Do I have the right technology?
Yeah.
Then the company, like the next year was 32 million. Like it just zoomed past, like
Yeah.
20 wasn't there. So now we don't even talk, we're past 50, but we don't even think about 50. We only talk about the company at 100.
Yeah.
We're like, do we have the right thing? So I think, again, for me and many other leaders, is we're the one limiting the
Hmm.
belief about what the company can be or what people
Hmm.
can do. And when you remove those barriers, wow,
Yeah.
amazing things happen.
If you don't even have the vision of what it could be, you have no hope of getting there, right?
Right.
And
100%.
I remember I walked into a board meeting when I was a CEO, all excited, and I had our plan for growth.
Hmm.
And it was a 10x plan,
Yeah.
right? But I felt like it was very doable. And I remember one board member saying, "Wait a second, who do we think we are?
Oh,
Why would we, why ever, we've never wanted to grow like that.
yeah.
What are you talking about?" And I was like, after that board meeting, I called on all the officers of the board and I said, "She needs to go.
Yeah.
We can't have that here."
Right.
Like that will completely suck us backwards. If you don't have the vision and the
Yeah.
drive to grow for the sake of the mission, then what are we doing? Right?
Right.
Yeah. So, you, I think, are the vision of someone at the pinnacle of executive leadership. You've
Mhm.
done so much in your career, all these different companies sold. You don't need to be working and you're so passionate and skilled. You are, and you're in this really exciting sector doing some of the most exciting work anyone could be doing, supporting all these other entrepreneurs. So I am wondering, what do you see as your next area of growth so that you can be really fulfilled, have minimal stress, take yourself, new challenge for yourself, or have the
What?
kind of influence you want? What might that be for you?
Uh, Minimal stress. I don't know what that is. That's an interesting kind of question. Um, Certainly for my company, there's a succession plan. I have such great belief and confidence in the leadership team that I have that I feel like, I could be done tomorrow. Um, it's funny too. Now it's when you get to a certain age, when you call unexpected meetings with parts of the company, they wonder if you're retiring. And I'm like, no, I'm not retiring. It's fine. They're like, oh, phew, okay, thank goodness. But for me, I'm passionate about a number of things. I'm very passionate about helping entrepreneurs. So, I want to double the size of the company in the next 3 years. I think with the world of AI, there's a great opportunity to do that. But past that, whether I'm there or not, I really want to continue to work hard to help entrepreneurs get their vision, bring their vision to life, get their companies launched. And then the other big area that I really want to spend a lot of time in is, as I mentioned, I'm the only person in my family to have ever gone to college. Education absolutely changed the trajectory of my life and my family's life. And so I'm grateful for that. So as many people, whatever education looks like over the next decade or two, I don't know. But as many people as you can provide education in whatever form so that they can make sure their family's not in poverty, but have a, great trajectory. I want to help do that. So I have a lot of things to do still. So I need to live to be about 150, I think.
You might just do it.
Hey, I know. Hey, I'm in really good shape. And with healthcare and AI helping healthcare,
Uh-huh,
there's no telling
exactly.
what we're going to be able to do.
It is an exciting time for that as well. So, I hate to have my last question for
Okay.
you. It's
All
been
right.
so
Make it
fun,
a good
but
one.
my last question for you is if I could put us in a time machine and take you back to talk to yourself 15, 20 years ago, what do you think is the most important advice you could give yourself?
I think 20 years ago, it would be to be much bolder and more confident. For sure, because I did things in a very slow, might not be the right word, but a very methodical way.
Hmm.
And I was very confident when I took this small step that then the next three steps were kind of easy to figure out. And I would go back and tell myself like, swing for the fences, like go big, like you got it. You got it figured out. You have the right vision. Go hard after that. Um, so I think that would be it.
I love that. And I think that that's a message that all younger leaders need to hear, but especially women. I think,
Yeah,
women undersell themselves and don't swing for the fences.
right.
And there, I was just talking with another woman about the double bind of, you want to be deferential and you want to make sure everyone likes you. And girls are often programmed to make themselves seem smaller or seem not as achievement driven and to lift
Yes,
up other people. And but there's this double bind that when you're in a leadership role, you want to achieve and seem confident and be able to give people direct feedback and,
right,
push for change. But when you do that, then you get judged for it, right?
right.
And so there's internalized bias where we hold ourselves back. We make ourselves look smaller. We don't challenge ourselves and others enough. And if you have a lot of confidence and drive, it's almost like you're going against some of this programming that you've received as a
Yeah,
woman. And yeah.
100% agree. Yeah. Yeah, we typically, even still today, although I think younger women are getting better and better at this, is we tend to not apply for positions unless we already have 12 of the 10 qualifications. And, where our male counterparts are much better about that. I have 6 of the 10. That's plenty. And I'm like, yeah, that's the right approach, right? That we should do much more of that.
Well,
So
you're going to love hearing this, Joyce, because I was just talking to a very driven young woman, about 23.
yeah, awesome.
And I said, do you guys do that? Do you think? Like, is there a difference between men and women at your age in the
Yeah,
type of job that you're applying for? And if you feel like you have to be fully qualified? And she said, no, we've all been told that.
good. That's
And she
good.
said, me and she, at least the people I know,
Yeah.
we're applying for stuff that we know we're not quite ready for. And I was
Yeah.
happy to
It's
hear that.
awesome. Yay. Exactly. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I think things are changing and we have more access to information than we ever have.
Yeah.
And, with AI, I think we can start to really catch some of these old patterns that aren't working for us and be
Hmm.
guided by AI that can help us have better discernment and
Yeah.
not just get fooled by these old biases.
No, I know. AI can be a great partner. The human is still, again, because of all of the skills you and I've kind of talked about in terms of problem solving, really discernment and caring about people, all of those things will still make the human the most important thing. But oh my gosh, get AI to do a lot of work for you. Like you don't need to do that stuff. Like it's good at that. You be the person making the decisions, managing the team, caring about people, and let AI help you.
And let's just make great decisions and work a
Yes.
little bit less. That
Yeah,
would be awesome.
that'd be awesome. Exactly.
Yes. Well, Joyce, thank you so much for being here and
Thank you, Meg.
sharing your hard-won wisdom with us. This was a lot of fun.
My pleasure. Thank you.